productivity is important, and it's a theme that's been looked at in the new Committee for the Economic Development of Australia, or CEDA report, and it's found that a lack of work-related training is making that productivity problem worse. Andrew Barker is CEDA's Head of Research, and he joins me now. Andrew, welcome to Money News.
Hi, Deb. Thanks for having me on.
So are we not learning on the job as we once were?
Not as much as we were. So we've found that the participation in work-related training has gone down 14% over the past decade and a half. And this is missing an opportunity to boost productivity, which, as you've been discussing, is so important for our economy and driving income growth. Because when we look at the data, we look at people's incomes over time, we find that when they do training, wages increase by around 20% year after training, and we don't see the same increase among otherwise similar people who don't do training, and then benefits for employers too through productivity, through a more engaged workforce, and people who are more likely to stay in their current job if they get training.
And why have we seen a drop-off in this kind of training and learning?
Well, that's the puzzle, because there are clearly opportunities there. And there's a lot going on in our economy that makes us think we should need more training. We see widespread skill shortages across a wide range of industries. We see rapid technological change, things like digital transformation, artificial intelligence. They're all things that require new skills, the energy transition as well, new skills in clean energy. And also an ageing workforce. That means people need to do lifelong learning to upgrade the skills that they have. So we have these trends pushing in the direction that we'd expect to see more training, but actually training's going down. And we've heard some people say that employers aren't training people because they're concerned that the people they train will just go and work for their competitor or go to someone else. But as I mentioned before, we actually see in the data that people are less likely to change jobs if they do training. And actually what we are hearing a lot of is that people are really struggling to find the time to do training. And because we showed that training does have such an important payoff, it's important that employers and employees make space to do the training to build their skills.
So a bit of both, of workers holding back from taking up the training that's on offer and employers not offering the training in the first place.
That's right. So employers need to make the space and create a learning culture within their organisations and break down the barriers to training and making time, whether that's within rostering or allowance for billable hours or whatever it might be, depending on the industry, making time for people to do training, to do better data analysis of the returns to training, the return on investment, so they can see the types of training that are having the best payoffs, and also to target the types of training that have the best payoffs. So, work-related training can be a really broad range of different types of training. It can be helping people just get started in a job. It can be advanced leadership training. It also includes compliance training for people to meet legislative and regulatory requirements.
It makes my blood run cold, though, as soon as you say compliance training. I just think, oh, God, here we go. I've got to fill out countless forms online.
You're not alone there, Deb, and it can be important to underpin safety, but it can also take up time that could be used for training that really builds skills. So we recommend, more evaluation and more targeting of that compliance training to make sure it's going where it's really needed.
Rather than box ticking, actually improving the skills that the workforce has.
Precisely. No doubt there is a lot of box ticking and we need to avoid that.
And presumably, if you've got a worker who's better trained, better educated, that would ultimately, you would hope, lead to higher wages. That would be a massive draw card, you would imagine, particularly during the cost of living crisis we're in at the moment.
That's right. And so we say people should look at the opportunities that we demonstrate, this data tracking people over time, showing that wages are higher for people who do training. It's an opportunity both for employers to boost productivity and for people to boost their wages by building the kinds of skills to support the career trajectory that they want to follow.
And would it help, you would think, the entire economy because we would have productivity gains from a better trained workforce.
That's right. So it improves incomes, which is reflecting productivity growth, but it also improves retention of staff, so keeping the skills and the knowledge within organisations, and it improves job satisfaction as well. So a more engaged workforce is more productive as well. So overall benefits, and as a society, we're missing out on that potential benefit because training participation is going down, which is against the trend in European countries, for example.
Marcus has texted an interesting point in. You can have your say as well, 0460 873 873. He says, thinking about the decline in productivity due to the lack of training, if I'm not mistaken, the Hawke-Keating government had a required training investment for business, which was removed by the Howard government. And Marcus says, I think we're paying the price for that short-sighted move. Is it up to governments to make this training happen, or should it be the individual firms who take up that challenge?
So we put the emphasis on firms, on employers, because it's really up to them to build that culture and to target the types of training that give the greatest benefits. There are things that government can and should do. That includes better accreditation of training, so the training you can do, particularly if that's built in collaboration with a higher education or a vet provider, that can be recognised so you can take that to another job rather than having to do the training again. And government have a really important role to work to reverse the declining literacy and numeracy skills we see in Australian students, because those foundation skills provide the basis to do lifelong learning. We see people with above average literacy skills are twice as likely to do work-related training as people with below average literacy skills. So that's a really important role for government to set that foundation.
And you mentioned an ageing workforce. You assume that as more experienced workers move into retirement, we're going to need people rising through the ranks with the training to take their place.
Exactly, to fill the gaps in leadership positions, but also because people are staying in the workforce longer and we're seeing rapid changes in the skills that are required. So people need to build new skills in areas like digital.
Yeah, and digital, AI, that and the technological categories, is that an area where we are really falling behind?
It's an area where we potentially miss a great opportunity, and we did have a case study in our report looking at one of our member organisations that is doing specific AI training. So it is happening, but it's not happening consistently enough or with sort of strong enough measurement of return on investment to see what the payoffs from that can be, and they're potentially large.
Yeah, well, whatever we can do to improve productivity, we definitely need to embrace it. Andrew, thank you so much.
Exactly. Thanks, Deb.
Andrew Barker there, CEDA's Head of Research, the Committee for the Economic Development of Australia.